Hey guys, it's Darren Bryce. We're coming at you again with another update. Check it out. Now, when you run a linear static analysis on your design, you'll get a more streamlined presentation of results. Result details will now include helpful tips and recommendations for over-designed, good, marginal, and bad scenarios. We've also made it easier for you to highlight specific areas of the model where failure could occur based on your setup. You can define custom ranges for how the design will be assessed, so pay special attention to those parameters. In addition, we added 3 new advanced material models for simulation: isotropic with temperature dependencies, elastoplastic, and Mooney-Rivlin. Temperature-dependent isotropic will do just like it sounds, allow you to define temperature-dependent material properties such as specific heat, thermal conductivity, Young's modulus, and so on, for any cases where thermal fluctuations come into play. The elastoplastic definition is essentially a simplified nonlinear material model that will allow you to define post-yield behavior with a single value, aka the tangent modulus. And finally, Mooney-Rivlin is the material model used to accurately simulate hyperelastic materials like rubber. Adding new materials can be a bit difficult to figure out for the first time, so make sure to see the What's New blog where Kaching provides a step-by-step walkthrough. Future updates will appear less intrusive and more behind the scenes, allowing you to focus on those amazing designs. Because when a new update has been pushed, you'll see a subtle indication next to the clock icon. Click it to see the status of the update, or hopefully it's already done and ready to go. Then, at your discretion, restart Fusion to finish the update process. Last, but certainly not least in my section, is the news coming out of our rendering environment. It's here that we've introduced a completely new control that enables transparent materials to work better with each other: dielectric priority control. So what does dielectric priority control mean to you? Think of ice cubes in a glass of water. Previously, refractions and how transparent bodies looked behind each other wasn't controllable. But now, using this new definition, you can set their priority. As a rule of thumb, solid or hard objects, such as ice and glass, should typically have a higher priority, whereas softer objects, such as liquid, should have a lower priority. To achieve the best results, especially with multiple transparent materials, it's best to force the coincident faces to actually overlap. This common practice is used in the rendering world and will prevent artifact faces from showing up in your renderings. A special blog will be coming out that speaks to this in more detail, so make sure to check it out. That's all from me.
Now let's cover some of the enhancements in the Sketch and Model workspace. Let's start by creating a sketch on this inside face. I want to use geometry already present in the model, so let's project in this back edge. Now in Fusion 360, we have added constraint icons for projected geometry. These icons will only become visible when the sketch geometry is selected. We can select the icon and hit the delete key to break that link back to the original edge. Now let's move on to the biggest nugget to be released in this update. Now sketches will automatically have fully constrained analysis by default. This means that sketch entities that are blue are underdefined, or black if they are fully defined. It is best practice to make the sketch black by defining sketch geometry with dimensions or constraints. Now let's move on to the next enhancement. Let's go ahead and look how this cut was created. The distance where the cut is being driven by a plane along the path. This command will create a plane along a path at a specified percentage. Previously, if this was driven by a parameter like it is done for this swept cut, the location of the plane would not update if the parameter was changed. Now, just as you would expect, the plane will update its location whenever the parameter is changed. Do take notice, for this parameter to work, it will have to be unitless since this value is a percent. Next, let's move on to some of the drawing enhancements to drop in this release. First, let's take a look at this exploded view drawing. Notice the 2 items tagged 7 in the middle of this drawing. These are 2 bodies that belong to the same component. Now when we try to renumber one body that belongs to a component, the others will automatically change when one is selected. Now I'm going to switch over to a different sheet in this drawing. This next enhancement is a big one. I want to measure to where these 2 edges intersect, or the virtual sharp. Now in Fusion 360, we can use the new Edge extension tool. Simply click on the 2 edges and Fusion 360 will find the intersection. Next, we can use these new intersections to drive a dimension for our manufacturer. Alright, let's go ahead and output this drawing as a PDF. Previously, when you output a multi-sheet drawing, all of the sheets would output into that PDF. Now we can either select specific sheets out of the bottom of Fusion 360 or specify a range. In this case, I will select the first 3 sheets to be output into the PDF. Finally, when exporting PDFs with many vertical or horizontal lines, the PDF would thicken the lines to the point where they were smudged together. Now we have the option to turn on or off line weights, so your lines on your exported PDFs will be thinner. In this update, we have added new markup tools when creating redline markups from Fusion Team. First, we added new callout tools to a variety of selection types. In this example, we will use the polyline selection type. Once the selection is made, a callout will appear that points to that selection. Also, in this update, we've added new text styles. We can change the size and color of the text. In addition, we can also fill in the text box with different colors and opacities. Let's add another text box real quick. Finally, we can also change the styles for lines as well. We could change the line weight, line opacity, and color for each individual line or arrow. Once I hit save, the markup will be saved to the design and can be referenced by other members in the project. Make sure to collaborate with your team with these new redline markup tools.
Hi everybody, Lars Christensen here, ready to share with you what's new with CAM within Fusion 360. So in this release, I really gotta thank all of you people who take the time to post up to the forum and to the idea station, because the developers in this release really kind of like narrowed down on a lot of those, and they closed over 60 tickets. Now, some of those things were small, minor things, but some of them was fairly big and complicated. They actually went in and did some tweaking to the CAM kernel, what is like the brain or the spine of the software. And they did some things with some gouging in 2D, with adaptive, and also with turning. Now, talking about turning, they really focused on that and added some really good improvements to that. So let's take a look at that. So the first one I want to show you here is that if we go into this profile cut right here and we go in and edit this operation, go into the passes tab, you will see that the stock to leave have now been split up. So now you can do both radial stock to leave and actual stock to leave. And well, that's because sometimes you want to leave more stock on the diameter than you want on the length of the part. Now, of course, splitting this stock to leave into 2 separate settings is only done on settings where it makes sense. So like this one, it does it on the profile, it does it on the standard grooving operation, it does it on chamfering operations. Now, another thing that the developers added for this release is occurring both in a single groove, like you see right here, in a standard multiple step down groove, and in the parting option. And that is that in the passes tab, you now have a allow rapid retract. What this will let you do is have a rapid retract out with a G00. Now, another thing that is probably worth showing, now we're inside of a parting operation. If you are using the use constant surface speed for your parting operation, the development team fixed the issue that was with using a reduced feed rate. So this option here, normally used as a G96, where you can slow down the feed rate as you're getting closer to the center of your part. Now, talking about feeds and speeds, another thing that was kind of nice added here, if we go into a mill tool and we edit the tool, going over to the feeds and speeds tab, we had a nice function in HSMWorks and in Inventor HSM, where when you change your spindle speed, your ramp speed would change with it, until you decided to go down and individually changing this value. Then that would not be the case anymore. But now that have also been added to Fusion, just one of these small things that just makes life a lot easier. Now, in this update, the contour selection tool also got some tweaking. And I know that some of you guys are familiar with this tool, but I also know that other people are not so familiar with it. So I just want to give you a quick demonstration of it. If I want this end mill to follow the bottom of this edge here, you will see that when I go into select it, that by default, it will select one of the rectangular feet that resides under this part. The trick is that after you select, you go back again and you will see that it turns from blue to red when I hover my mouse over and left click to select it. Now I will get this selection tool that will open up, and now it's just as easy as walk around and just select the edges that I want the contour to follow. And just like that, we have selected all the way around, and when I hit the green plus sign, we have now get that edge projected down. Now, most of you have probably already discovered all the great posts that is in the drop-down inside of Fusion 360. But I want to make sure that you know that down here in the lower left, there is actually access out to the online post library. Now, and all the posts that is out here gets continually updated. So for example, if we go and we look for a Mac 3 mill post, you will see that that was changed 6 days ago. Or what if you have like a Doosan mill turn, you will see that that was updated 18 days ago. So if you're looking for a post for your CNC machine, definitely go out and check the online post library. Back to Bryce and Aaron.
Hey, great job on the camo update, Lars. We love to see you doing those. One thing I know you were excited to see was the Edge extension tool, aka Virtual Sharps. We're all happy to be able to use that in drawings now.
Yeah, and I know I was excited for the fully constrained analysis in the sketch environment to come out of preview when those lines turn blue and black, whether it's fully defined or underdefined. Huge, very excited.
Yeah, and there's a lot of updates that are being added to the sheet metal workspace, which is in limited preview right now, but we're working feverishly to get it out. Stay tuned on that.
Yeah, the development team's doing an awesome job. Make sure to check out our quick tips and our blog. We have tons of training material.
Other than that, have a great week.
Keep fusioning.
That was good.